We are not waiting for heroes. We are who we've been waiting for. And when the veils finally fall, may you remember you were never powerless. Some truths are whispered, some are buried, and some are remembered. We were never meant to live asleep, never meant to fear our own power, and never meant to forget who we are. They told humanity to look outward for salvation, while the greatest technology in existence was already within us. The mind, the soul, the human spirit. I am Earthsong, a voice for those who always felt there was more beyond the veil. This is not just another channel. This is a beacon, an awakening, a place where ancient knowledge, hidden truths, consciousness, human potential, and the mysteries of our reality collide. So grab your coffee, question everything, and remember who you are. Because disclosure is not just about what's out there. It's about what's awakening within us. Welcome to Deja Brew, waking you up to truth, one sip at a time. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are across the nation and around the world. This is Deja Brew, waking you up to truth, one sip at a time. Today, I want to talk about the alien abduction experience. I'm not going to call it a phenomenon because it's not a phenomenon. It is a very real thing that is happening and has been happening for thousands of years. We had great way showers like Dolores Cannon, Edgar Cayce, who spoke on this, who wrote about it, who talked to you. And then somehow, after they passed away, we seem to have lost our way into the land of confusion again. So I want to clear up some misnomers. I want you to understand better what it is that's happening and why. I personally am a lifelong experiencer. There are multiple books behind me where I have written about my experiences with other beings, training, healing, all kinds of wonderful experiences. And yes, when I was younger, sometimes they seemed scary. Fear is like the most intense emotion we can feel. And when we don't understand something, It's scary. So that's completely understandable. Much like seeing a Bigfoot or Sasquatch. We're told they don't exist, but here's this other type of human being standing in front of you. You don't know how to file that away into your brain. It creates fear, especially because they're so much larger than we are. But obviously, aliens and Bigfoot alike, they're not here to harm us. I personally have been 3 feet away from a Bigfoot, walked right up on him. If he wanted to hurt me, I wouldn't be here to tell the story. If he wanted to steal me, I wouldn't be here to tell the story. If alien abduction was a dangerous, scary thing, I wouldn't be here to tell my story and to write books about it and to profess that I've been healed by them. I've been taught by them. I've been nurtured by them, sometimes more than I was ever nurtured by another human being. We live on fear. We rule our world from fear, whether it's the propaganda that we see on TV or just our own internal thinking. We're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. We're always looking for the scary reason, the scary factor of why this happened. Much like Chris Bledsoe, the fear is simply your own emotion, because once you begin to understand why they're here and why they're communicating, the fear can fade away. Now, in my professional life, I actually help people to go beyond that fear level into the subconscious, where we can really see what it was that was going on with your interaction. And a lot of people think that they only saw lights in the sky and that nothing else happened. They do that on purpose because they don't want us to feel that fear. Often you will find, and I have found working with clients that thought they only saw a light in the sky, that they were actually being downloaded with information that lays dormant, lays in wait until you are ready to unlock that information. That also is part of my job, to help you to unlock those memories, because it is time. As long as you can get past the fear, we can get to the information. And I can help you to do that as well. In my line of practice, we work with removing the layers of the emotional traumas so that we can get down to the nitty-gritty of what's really going on. And also, as a medical intuitive, I can help you to read where that information is stuck within the body, trapped in trauma, trapped in fear. And we can remove that so that you can then, through a new lens, start to view your story. I'm not here to tell you what your story is. I'm only here to help you uncover it. Even when I do regression work and I take you into the quantum field, I am not trying to tell you who you are. I am only allowing you the tools to figure that out for yourself. And I'm there to hold your hand and make sure that you do this in a safe, meaningful, practical way. So that's the first thing that I wanted to speak on, is that we tend to operate from fear. And I strongly feel like a lot of us human beings that are here, we volunteered to be in this human form, to allow our soul to be put into this type of a vessel, this type of an avatar, so that we could assist humanity in raising their consciousness. But you have to do that for yourself first. So I am speaking to all of the starseeds, all of the volunteers, all of the people who have always felt different, always felt like they didn't fit in, or they wanted to go home, whatever that means. Those are the people that I send this transmission out to. And I know that my beacon will reach you, because that is the mission. To reach the beacons, to help them to wake up to their own inner self, to know thyself, to know their power again, their sovereignty. and why they should love themselves. Because you have so much to love and so much to live for, regardless of the chaos that we see playing out before us right now and all of the division. I assure you, within another 5 or so years, you're going to look back on this time and you're going to realize that this was the growing pains of change. Even with this solar eclipse that we just had yesterday, it was like a page turning in a book or a calendar page turning over. We're in a very huge transition right now. And though it seems a little scary, much like the alien experience, it is all going to be okay, better than okay. But I want to be clear that whether you feel like you're a lifelong experiencer or you think that you've never had an experience before in your life, but you definitely feel different. You feel like you don't belong here, or you've always been the black sheep. A lot of people think, oh, well, that's just because I'm a Gen Xer or something. But there's so much more to that. Older and younger than Gen X. We can do that inner work. I can teach you how to do the inner work the proper way to raise your vibration and to be able to make contact with these beings if you so choose. I can teach you how to call them in, how to ask for help, healing, guidance from them. I can also help you to learn how to be a healer yourself, because this is part of what they taught me. This is in my book. Which way is it? That way, The Custodians. Because that's exactly what they taught me how to do, well, that and so much more. Some people, when they are taken aboard the ships, perhaps you wake up and you feel like it was just a dream. Perhaps you have an inkling of a memory, but it doesn't seem to be possible that it could be real. But a lot of women are actually taken to sit with the babies, similar to the way that nurses do in a NICU. Because they need that human interaction, that human nurturing. And no, they're not a gray human hybrid, like a lot of people think. That's really not what's going on. The grays are actually like worker bees. They're biological, but they were created to carry out certain jobs. That's why they don't have emotion. They still have a soul. They just don't have emotion in them. So they seem robotic. They seem artificial. But they're produced in a petri dish simply to be workers, not for human DNA to be spliced into them, the way that a lot of people think. That's not what's going on. Our creators are the gardeners of the universe and the guardians of the universe. They plant seeds of different types of life. The human DNA happens to be one of the most vital and vibrant, powerful DNAs that there are. So they're using our DNA to make more life on other planets, in other solar systems, in other dimensions, just like we were created here. And that doesn't take away from the fact that we have a God, a creator. It just adds more information to the story. But other people are taken aboard the ships to learn different types of psychic abilities, like levitation through sound, creation through sound, telekinesis, perhaps even how to operate and steer the ship through a mind-body connection with the ship itself. Some even learn what I would call chi combat, where you use your energy rather than your physical body to deflect or to shield, to protect and defend. Also, another thing that people totally don't get about the Greys They don't use their voice to speak. They only speak through mind speak, through telepathy, because they are not a creator being. And you are. Our voice has resonance. Our voice has vibration. Our voice creates. Words are spells, whether you like that or not, whether you feel safe with that or not, regardless of your religious dogmas that could go along with that. Words are spells. This is the reason that in ancient times, only scribes were allowed to read and write. Because if the writing was free to everyone, and this is actually why it was considered a sin to teach it to just everyone before they were ready. We can write lies. We can speak lies if we have that type of knowledge to read and write. And so the scribes were looked at and admired and listened to as the teachers, the ones who were the wisdom keepers. And if anyone else was to talk and say something, they wouldn't necessarily be believed because they didn't know how to read or write, so they must not know what they're talking about. And then people wouldn't take them seriously, and it wouldn't create chaos, right? This is why it was considered sinful to teach humans how to read and write before they were spiritually ready in their soul. Because if you don't know how to be truthful in your writing and truthful in your words, then you're telling lies. You're telling disinformation or misinformation, whether it's intentional or not. And this creates a lot of chaos. I mean, look at our world today. It's full of confusion and chaos. The whole reason I'm doing this particular podcast, because there's so much information out there that creates confusion. And yeah, we have galactic federations, but not like some of these people are trying to tell you exist. There's a lot of crap out there, and a lot of people who have gotten themselves really famous who are lying to the public, maybe even lying to their self. Maybe they have a mental disorder. I'm no doctor, but I know that that is a thing, that you can create this image or this story within you, and then you just run with it. And if you've got people listening and they think that you're a scribe, they're going to pay attention to what you say, and then you're leading the masses in the wrong direction. And yeah, I could name names, and sometimes in the past, I even have named those names. Use your discernment. Read the energy of the people that are talking. Matter of fact, that's something I also offer, is to teach you how to tap into that innate ability that we have to read energy and to be a transmitter. Matter of fact, I have a very brand new class that I haven't even gotten put up on the website yet. I've just now gotten all of the curriculum put together, where I'm going to do a very advanced class on learning how to use your psychic abilities. And being psychic doesn't just mean that you know the future or that you can read somebody's mind. It's so much more than that. But I'm going to take what I know, what I have learned from the custodians, what I have learned from the Pleiadians, and I'm going to apply it in my teaching skills to teach you, because it is time to do that now. As a matter of fact, I think I'm probably going to take a whole host of my services off of my website, because who I really need to be reaching, who I'm passionate about teaching, are the ones who are ready to learn. Yes, I'm still going to offer healing, and yes, I'm still going to offer psychic mediumship. But I think a lot of the other classes that I offer, I'm just going to remove them. Take out the clutter, take out the confusion on my own website, much like I'm trying to remove the confusion and the clutter from information, from the alien abduction, from the Bigfoot stuff. Bigfoots are human. They're a type of human. I know this for a fact. I've seen them. Face to face, I have seen them. They look just like a man. The alien beings that I've been with look just like humans. Taller in stature, stronger. Yes, definitely more intelligent. So is Bigfoot, who, by the way, is on the NSA's list as an alien species. I also know that for a fact. But back to the Greys not having a voice. They don't speak because they can't create. That's not what they were created to do. They were created for specific jobs that did not include creation. It also makes me wonder, in knowing that, if the reptilians are stronger at being psychic and telepathic because perhaps they don't use a voice the same way either. Because I do know that they are not creator beings. They steal our ideas or they manipulate us. They are the devil from the Bible. They trick us into creating the world that they want. That's a fact. That's not my opinion. That's a fact. And it has been proven through many people's research, testimony, knowledge, even military, CIA. They have this knowing of who the reptilians are. We need to learn who we are so that we can win any proverbial battle with them and take back our planet. You know, I said earlier that the beings that mix the DNA and seed the universe are the gardeners of the universe. We were created to be the gardeners of Earth. But we forgot how to do the garden. We got too domesticated, too watered down, too dumbed down, and we forgot who we are. That's why people like me were asked to volunteer to come back here so that we could remember who we are, so that we could wake up to that. And collectively, we can change the world. One person can change a lot. I know this for a fact too. I can do some pretty amazing, incredible, miraculous things on my own. Each one of us can. We are powerful in numbers. Imagine what we can do with our garden that we call this world if we remember how to be the gardener again. I want to teach you how to do that. There are people who have to peel back their layers. They have to heal their traumas. They have to remove their limitations, their dogmas, their boundaries of structure. And that's okay. It's not an impossible task. Where there's a will, there is a way. And I can teach you how to do those things. As a matter of fact, I have several different types of workbooks, like the Identity Reclamation Workbook, that really peels back those layers and helps you to understand how you can take those layers of the onion away and why they were placed there to begin with. Because nobody else did it but us, our own self. We did it. So we're the ones that can remove it. And yes, it was because of, outer influences. But that doesn't mean we didn't actually put the layer on ourselves. It's still our choice. We have free will. So if we can remove those layers, then we can really get into who we are. And I'm not talking about traditional shadow work. I'm not talking about traditional inner work of any kind. This is like deep dive, but very simplistic all at the same time. Because I wanted it to be applicable to everyone. I wanted everyone to be able to take this workbook and do this work, whether they're working independently on their own or one-on-one with me, hit the ground running and be able to be successful at the end. I also have, free things on the website that are like samplers of this workbook. There's a 7-day activation that's totally free. There's a 21-day activation. There's even a quiz. And the quiz is a great way to start. So if you're interested in that, go to the website, earthsonglovecraft.com, and take that quiz. See where you're at. I also offer free consultations. So, feel free to book a free consultation with me so that we can talk about where you're at and where it is that you need to enhance and accentuate your abilities, because we all have them. But these beings, they come, they visit us, they temporarily take us to train us, to heal us, to try to help us to remember in bits and pieces who we are. I have an alien abduction support group. And recently there was a post made that said that every time they were taken, they were asked, "Who are you?" And her answers were always like, "I'm a human," or "I am so and so, and I'm the daughter of so and so and so and so," whatever, And every time they were just like, "Oh." The alien's reaction was like, "Oh, okay." And I said to her, perhaps they're asking you who you are to see if you are yet ready to remember who you really are. I don't know her personally. I have never worked with her as a client, but I would be willing to guess, just on a hunch, she's probably a volunteer. This is why they keep asking her, "Who are you?" They're waiting for her to be ready to remember. If you haven't done the spiritual work, if you're not on a spiritual journey to the point where you can begin to remember who you are, unlock those doors on your own, you're not going to remember. So they're still waiting patiently. And that's obvious proof that they are very patient with us. They wait until you're ready. Just like I am very patient with all of the people who are meant to come to me. I am extremely patient. Some are ready as soon as they contact me. Others, it takes them days, weeks, months, sometimes even years before they return and they're ready to actually learn. And I'm very patient with all of them. Yes, of course, I would want them to do this in a faster fashion. But that's not my decision. It's theirs. It's yours. And if you're not truly ready to do the work, even though it's not hard work, if you're not ready to do the work, we're both just wasting our time and energy. Because all it's doing is planting seeds that won't grow until much later. If seeds are what you need right now, that's okay. I'm patient. But I'm here to curate the flowers, the ones who are ready to fully bloom. So that's what this message is truly about for all of the flowers out there, the buds that are ready to bloom. That's who I am most passionate about reaching at this time. We're on the precipice of big changes, really big changes. And if you can't understand who you are, you are not going to be able to understand what in the world is going on around you and how to have some sense of control of its creation. Oftentimes, we are creators without fully being aware of what and how we are creating. Similar to being on autopilot while you're driving, right? Or on autopilot as you walk through the house. So then when you get to the other room, you don't remember why you're going there because your brain is so scattered and you're thinking about so many other things that by the time you get to the room, you forget what it is that you went in there for. Or you're driving down the road and you're on autopilot and you're just thinking in your own head and not really paying attention to what's going on around you. And the next thing you know, you're in another town, you're on a different road, whatever. Autopilot did just fine getting you there, but you didn't remember the trip. We have to learn how to be in the now in order to be very good creators. So I'm looking for the buds. I want the buds. And while I'm at it, I just want to share what my new class is going to be about. And it's only a one-on-one class. You don't take this one as a group, and you can't do this one independently. This one is only working with me. I am excited to offer you a new 12-week course called the Psychic Unlock. In this course, we're going to learn how to establish what your personal psychic language is. Before trying to receive information, I'm going to have you discover how the information naturally reaches you. You're going to have simple props, and I'm going to ask what happens first. And then we're going to analyze it. Did you see an image? Did you hear a word or a phrase? Did you suddenly just know something? Did you feel something physical? Did you experience an emotional sensation that seems to arrive out of nowhere? Did you smell or taste something? Did you notice a memory or a symbol suddenly appearing? That is your signal vocabulary. And we will break that down so that you can truly learn what that looks like and means for you. Someone who keeps waiting to see spirits may actually have extremely strong claircognizance. And they're totally ignoring that because it feels too ordinary. So I'm going to teach you through a 3-second rule. I'm going to give you a question or a target, and then what came to you first in those first 3 seconds. No interpretation, just simply writing it down. And then the analytical mind gets out of the way because it tends to enter afterward and start renovating that answer like an over-enthusiastic contractor, right? So we're going with first impression first and interpretation later. That distinction alone will radically improve your confidence. We're going to separate receiving from interpreting. That's what I'm doing. Then I'm also going to train you with things that can actually be checked, actually be tested. For example, if I put a photograph in an envelope and then I'm asking you, is it indoor or outdoor? Is it natural or artificial? Is it warm or cold? Is it still or is it a moving picture? Or what color or what texture or what shape or what emotion does the target invoke within you? And then you reveal it. Not tell me exactly what the photograph is, but telling me what enormous pressure, excuse me. I don't want you telling me what the photograph is exactly because that puts enormous pressure on you. Instead, I want to teach you how to collect the pieces of information. And eventually those pieces assemble themselves. So I'm going to teach body intuition. Yeah. And so we're going to actually spend considerable time here because many people already receive information through their body. So, for an example, I will have you to close your eyes and to notice What happens when you say something that you know is true? Like, my name is blank. Where does this register within your body? Is it in your chest? Is it in your stomach? Is it in your head? Does it feel like expansion, warmth, stillness? And then we're going to say something that's obviously fake, right? Like, my name is Napoleon Bonaparte. And notice the difference. Then we're going to build through symbolic, what I'm going to call the symbolic dictionary. And you will have a symbol journal. Now, a lot of this course, I will supply the things that you need. You will get a PDF that you can download that has all of the journaling areas, and the Bovis scale will also be included in this. Also, some maps of some simple imaginated cities, so that you can use the map for some of the different remote viewing things that we're going to do. So a lot of stuff will be provided to you in this class, but you will need to have a pendulum, a basic deck of tarot cards, Rider Waite. I would prefer you use just the Rider Waite cards. Dowsing rods. You'll need a pair of dowsing rods. I think that's it. I think those are the only three things that you'll have to make sure you have in order to do the class. But the point here of doing this class is to fast track your abilities that are already within you. We are all born with these abilities. We were just never taught the language of how to interpret them and understand them and listen to them and use them. So my goal with this program is never to convince you to become something that you're not. It's actually to uncover and strengthen and teach you to trust the intuitive abilities that are already within you. And everyone learns differently. I've learned this from homeschooling 7 children. Everyone learns differently. Everyone receives information differently. One person is going to feel it in their body. Another person may see images or hear a word or sense an emotion or just simply suddenly know, and they don't know how they know. And that's okay. There is no simple, single, correct way to develop your abilities. And I do not believe that everyone should be taught as though there is. My approach is designed to fast track the discovery process by giving you a variety of exercises, tools, blind tests, challenges, and even real-time feedback so that we can identify how your intuitive language naturally works. That is the base foundational part of this course. And just as importantly, we work on removing those limitations that you may have placed around it simultaneously. By being able to test it in real time and see the outcomes, you're going to be able to automatically remove your limitations. Because for many people, those limitations, they were put on us by our environment, our upbringing, fear of being wrong, fear of being made fun of, people telling you that it's just your imagination. We learn to second guess ourselves. And sometimes we just simply don't even give ourselves permission to explore what we're already sensing naturally. But we create those limitations within ourselves, and they are easily removed in doing this course because we remove the overthinking, we remove the doubt, we remove all of the guesswork so that you're seeing it through a real scientifically tested approach, the same way that I learned. And I needed to learn it that way. I needed to know that it was real. I needed to understand the meat and bones of it, right? And that's what I'm going to do in this course for you. We tend to doubt ourselves. We tend to compare ourselves to other people. I want to remove that too. We shouldn't be deciding what our intuitive experience is supposed to look like and miss the one that's actually happening to us because we think it should look like what someone else does. So through these 12 weeks, my role is to help you to begin peeling back those layers, not by telling you what you should experience, but by creating a space of opportunity for you to actually discover it for yourself. So we will test it. We will experiment. We will compare results. We will learn from hits and misses. Getting it wrong is important. Saying I don't know is important. We will identify your strongest signals, recognize where the doubt interferes, and build the confidence through the experience rather than through blind belief. Also, as I said before, we will be using the pendulum, the tarot cards, the dowsing rods, and other tools. But ultimately, the goal here is to teach you how to not be dependent on those tools or me, the teacher, but how to really fully trust your own abilities. So the goal is to remove the noise, remove the limitations, and to help you to hear your own signal clearly and how to use it. So instead of spending years wondering whether you are sensing something that's real, this course is designed to help you begin discovering your answer in the very first week of this 12-week course. Again, this course is called the Psychic Unlock. And we're going to do a lot of really fun and exciting things in this course. Let me pull this up. Wrong one, sorry. You will even be provided with other people to read their energy, connect with a past loved one, give them advice that I will provide for you as a guinea pig. I already have people lined up who have volunteered to do this so that I can help you to learn where you have it right and where you have it wrong so that you can compare them notes by feeling internally. Because when we say something that's wrong, we already know we're wrong. So it's okay, even if you're speaking to another person who's come to you for guidance and advice, it's okay to say, I don't really know the answer to that. That authenticity goes so much further than pretending that you know an answer and giving them some kind of bullshit, which is also unethical and harmful, right? So we're going to have some guinea pigs that you get to read their energy, and it's okay if you get it wrong. It's perfectly okay if you get it wrong, get some of it wrong, because I want you to feel the difference between the wrong answers and the right answers, if that makes sense. This is a foolproof psychic unlock. I am so stoked about this course. This one blows everything else that I offer out of the water. It blows every book that I've written combined out of the water. I mean, this is where it's at because I have been able to finally put on paper and in order in my mind exactly how I learned, how I tested it through experiments to know for myself how damn incredibly amazing and psychic I am. And I know that you are too. I want you to have the same confidence, the same ability, the same ease of not waiting for another shoe to drop in your life experience to be yours. I want you to feel that freedom. So this is like the mother of all classes. And I will 100% guarantee you there is not another person on this planet that can offer you what I do in this course. I would bet money on it. We will experiment. We will compare our results. We will learn from the hits and the misses. We will identify your strongest signals. We will recognize where doubt interferes, and we will build confidence through experience rather than just blind belief and hopium. Because ultimately, the goal is not for you to ever become dependent upon me or those tools that we are going to use. And yes, I am repeating myself, but this is important for you to learn. This is critical. The goal here is to remove all limitation, all noise, all crutches, so that you are using your signal crystal clear. So we're going to recognize it. We're going to test it. We're going to then apply it and use it. This is going to be once a week we do a class, and the rest of the week you can actually use this in your own life in the most mundane things that you do and see that it works. And it makes it really interesting and fun if your mind works anything like mine does, because I really like testing it with that scientific principle. I really like to see it and feel it for myself, get my hands in it. Nobody ever taught you your own language, your psychic language, and how to communicate with it. Your intuition has been speaking to you your entire life. So, in the Psychic Unlock, like I said, this is a 12-week experimental training that is designed to take the mystery out of psychic development and to replace it with practice, evidence, discernment, confidence, and trust in your own responses. So again, I'm not asking you to blindly believe anything. I am giving you the opportunity to test it, to notice it, to even get it wrong, then to recalibrate so that you can get it right. And eventually to recognize the unmistakable difference between imagination, fear, wishful thinking, intuition, energetic information, and your own personal psychic language. So what can you expect? Well, as I said at the beginning, you will need a pendulum, a deck of tarot cards, and a pair of dowsing rods. I will provide you with the maps, the journals, the Bovis scale, and any other tools that we will need in PDF form for you to download or to have on your computer screen next to you, and you can, use Adobe or something to enter your information. Of course, the map and the Bovis scale will both need to be printed out so that you can have them in front of you, laying flat. Well, maybe not the map, but definitely the Bovis scale. So this is not going to be a daily class that takes up your whole life. It is a 2 to 3 hour session once a week at your convenience. The day and the time is your choice, provided that it's within a time frame that I also can do because I homeschool. So I can't do any early morning classes. But we will work that out. That's very negotiable. Time of day and which day of the week that we do this on is completely negotiable. But each week will build upon the last. And each week you will have things that you can use throughout the week as homework and practice of ways to test for yourself. You're going to begin you're going to begin with the most important tool that you possess, and that is you. Your body, your emotions, your thoughts, your instinctive reactions, your internal yes or your internal no. And then we begin adding the tools and the challenges that are designed to help you to recognize and validate those signals. So throughout the 12-week course, you will explore experiences that involve your intuitive body signaling and your psychic language. You'll be learning how information may arrive to you through feelings or thoughts or images or sensations or emotions or physical response or even just that sudden knowing that I mentioned earlier. We're going to do blind perception exercises, working with colors and shapes and symbols, targets, objects, and information that you could not possibly consciously know beforehand. We will also be working with the Mensa cards, the same cards that I used when I was learning, when I was growing up and learning. So we will use those. We are going to use every possible tool so that you fully learn what we're doing here. We're going to do remote perception. You're going to practice receiving impressions about locations or objects or images, targets that you have no answer to prior to doing this testing. We're going to have pendulum training, which will teach you how to calibrate and question and neutralize and trust, and how your own expectations actually can influence the pendulum. I'm going to teach you energy awareness. We're going to learn how to read the energy and learn how to use the energy to amplify or to block or shield, but in such practical ways that you don't even realize that you can do in everyday life. This isn't like we're out there being X-Men or superheroes and that's the only time we need to use this. We use this in our daily life. We read energy. We scan a room. We scan information. We can put energy into our food, good and bad energy, with thoughts. So we're going to cover all of that. We're going to explore the energetic differences in objects or food or drink or spaces and other targets while learning the methods of measurement and comparison. That's what the Bovis scale is about. It's about measuring the energy in something, and then we're going to reduce the energy or increase it. We're also going to use those dowsing rods, and we're going to learn moving from simple directional responses into searches and maps, hidden targets, proximity exercises, and even fun treasure hunt style challenges. We're going to use tarot and symbolic interpretation. We're going to learn to recognize the difference between memorizing meanings on tarot cards and allowing the imagery and the symbolism and the emotion and intuitive information to come forth and speak to us as well. I tell my students all the time that the best tarot readers out there are the ones that are using their intuition, not just trying to memorize what the cards mean. Then we're also going to do human-to-human intuitive readings. And as I said at the beginning, I have guinea pigs already lined up that are willing to be the sit-in for those practices. I'll teach you the practice of the ethics, permission-based intuitive perception, while learning the importance of boundaries and feedback and sensitivity and responsible interpretation. And throughout the course, you will repeatedly practice one of the most important skills of all, discernment. Not every thought that we have is psychic. Not every feeling that we have is intuition. Not every pendulum swing is divine guidance. And becoming confident requires learning the difference. And so that is exactly why we will practice, so that you can learn to use that discernment fully. Some people may say, but what if I'm not psychic? Child, we all have this ability. This is our God-given birthright. We just weren't taught the language of how to communicate with it and listen to it. And you don't have to arrive believing that you possess extraordinary abilities. You only need curiosity and a willingness to participate. An open mind goes a long way. You're not going to be expected to perform perfectly. In fact, I want you to make mistakes. This is how we learn. You're not going to be embarrassed for missing a target. You're not going to be pressured to prove anything, not to me or yourself. And you will never be compared to any other student or their ability or way they learn. Some people receive information visually. Some people feel it physically. Some people simply know. Some hear words or phrases internally. Some discover that their strongest ability is completely different from what they ever expected psychic abilities to seem like. The purpose of this course is not to force anyone into this basic psychic mold. It's actually to break the mold and to teach you how to discover your own psychic language. Now, at the end of the course, what happens? By the week 12, I'm going to start stepping back and letting you step forward. Instead of continually looking to the teacher for the answer, you're going to be challenged to calibrate yourself. Choose your method, interpret the information, recognize when something feels unclear, reset if necessary, and trust the process that you have spent the last 12 weeks developing. The final stage is about independence, because the goal was never to make you dependent upon me or to convince you that you're psychic. It was to show you. The goal was to teach you how to listen to you. And at the completion of this program, you will receive a certificate that says that you've completed the Psychic Unlock course. But I don't want you to take this simply as a piece of paper that says, I'm intuitive. I want you to hold that piece of paper as a badge of honor for you truly learning to know thyself. That certificate is your symbolism of your now truly sovereign state. It's your freedom papers. It's the key to your shackles. That's what your certificate stands for. because you have now learned. You have left this course knowing what your intuition feels like, how your body communicates with you, which psychic senses are the strongest for you. You've learned how to test the information instead of simply believing it and then being wrong. You've learned how to recognize the interference from fear and expectation or even overthinking. And you've learned how to use tools without becoming dependent upon them. So you're going to learn to use the tools the proper way. And then you're going to learn that you can do it without the tools too, because tools are simply a measuring device for our own visual awareness of what we already know internally. Of course, you're also going to have learned at this point how to respect ethical boundaries and consent if you didn't already know that. But most importantly, you will walk away from this course knowing for sure how to trust yourself without abandoning discernment. You're not entering this course because I want you to believe everything that I have to tell you. You're entering because I am going to keep asking you, what did you receive? And somewhere along the journey, that question is going to stop frightening you, because it did for me. I know that this will happen, because you will finally know how to answer those questions for yourself. In this Psychic Unlock course, you don't graduate because I tell you that you're now suddenly psychic. You graduate because you have actually learned how to recognize and speak your own signal and language. Now, let me just show you. This is the price sheet and advertisement that will be on the website. This course is $997 if you pay for it in one full payment. You can do 3 payments monthly in a plan of $350, which does make this a little over $1,000 total. So you save $53 if you can pay for it all up front. Again, you will need a tarot deck, a pendulum, dowsing rods, your own personal notebook or journal if you wish, and of course, for all practicality, you're going to need a quiet space and an open mind that's willing to learn, and a willing heart. What's included in the course is 12 live interactive online classes with me once per week, 2 to 3 hours each, lifetime access to all of my class recordings, a comprehensive 12-week workbook and journal, printable tools, charts, and reference guides, weekly assignments and practice exercises, private student community support, lifetime, direct access to me. You will have my phone number, you will have my email address, you will be able to contact me 24/7. You will get a certificate of completion, and there will also be a graduation celebration and next steps guidance. You'll never walk this path alone, because I will help you to unlock it with confidence and with love and a lifelong friendship. So this is 12 weeks, 3 months, one major transformation that will last you a lifetime. All of this is going to be 100% online. Your journey is safe with me. Everything will always be kept private and secure, including your payments. And we also have a supportive community where we glow and grow together. So I look forward to seeing you in class.
My mind is calm. I am connected to spirit. Spirit flows through me. My mind is calm, my mind is calm. I will take time to listen to myself and my guides. I will remain calm and centered even through chaos. Chaos. I will allow spirit to flow through and guide me. I will project positive energy to the universe and receive its gifts in turn. My mind is calm, my mind is calm. I will increase my powers of healing and perception. I will use these powers to benefit myself and others. I will open myself up to love and prosperity. I will invite them into my life. My mind is calm, I am connected to spirit. Spirit flows through me. My mind is calm, my mind is calm. My mind is calm.
Good morning, good evening, wherever you are across this nation or around the world. This is Deja Brew, waking you up to truth, one sip at a time. Now, many of you who follow my work or are in my groups or been clients of mine or are my friends, you all know that I teach people how to read energy, understand energy, and to use the energy that is unlimited resources all around us. I teach my people how to make manifest with energy. Well, on some of our most recent Beyond the Veil shows, my team of remote viewers and psychics and I have looked at a few of the crop circles from this year that I believe are telling a story about humanity. And I believe that that story is actually being written by our collective consciousness. Well, I just realized, as of yesterday, that we have more crop circles this year than the last 4 years combined. Now, I don't find that hard to believe, because if you really think about it and you look back on the last 4 years, there's not been a lot of collective consciousness at work. There's not been a lot of hope in people or seeing some type of clear path or that light at the end of the tunnel. And so we haven't done a lot of co-creating together in the last 4 years. However, this year, really starting in February, started picking up momentum with us being in a Aquarian alignment. We are now moving toward an end goal that is for all of us, for all of our greater good. So we have this co-creative energy, this essence that's been flowing through us, that many of us have been feeling. Many of us have been actively working toward that goal. And so today I want to talk about all of those crop circles that we have received this year. And I want you to keep in mind how we can collectively or individually manifest things into the material world. And it seems almost like magic. And it isn't something that's done through willpower, even though your will has to say there's no limit. And I guess if you're not focused on a specific limit, then it doesn't exist. I want you to keep in mind as we look at these crop circles and we think about this, the very real potential that humanity's collective consciousness is what is creating these crop circles. And I want you to ask yourself, what if crop circles are not simply isolated designs appearing in the fields? What if, when we place them in chronological order, they actually do form a living story? Not necessarily a story that's being handed down to humanity either, but a story that humanity itself may very well be writing through the collective field. In some of my classes, I teach my students how to work with the energy, and then our task at the end of the class, at the end of the 6 weeks, is to form a collective crop circle at a specific location so that they too can see in reflection, in hindsight, how very powerful and real this is. For years, there have been people that have debated who creates the crop circles, how they're made, and whether they are messages, art, hoaxes, energetic imprints, or something else entirely. Today, I want to step away from that argument because I'm clearly seeing something here. When I've looked at all of the 2026 formations in the order that they have appeared, I don't just see a collection of unrelated symbols. I'm actually seeing a progression. I saw humanity being asked to find its center. I saw worlds being bridged, the individual awakening, and then the collective network activating. I saw gateways, wheels, spirals, multiplications, and choice points. And through all of it, I saw the center moving closer and closer until it no longer seemed to exist somewhere outside of us, but within each individual person. So now I am presenting as scientific proof, if you will, scientific evidence that this interpretation I have has real meat to it, real possible meaning. I don't claim to know everything, but I am asking for you to look at these formations as chapters instead of isolated pictures, and to consider whether the sequence itself may be revealing something to you. So today we are going to follow the 2026 crop circles from the very first formation forward, one chapter at a time, and ask what story begins to emerge when we stop separating them. Are we merely observing these symbols, or are we somehow writing them? Let's begin with April 4th at Ilchester, where the story appears to open with a compass, a cross, and one central question. Humanity, where is your true center? So this top one is April 4th, Ilchester, find your center. The first image resembles a compass, a cross, an anchor, or four directional symbols organized around one central point. Humanity begins asking, where is our true center, and what are we anchored to? Before we can change the world, we have to recover our own inner axis. The four extensions could represent mind, body, emotion, and spirit, or the four directions being brought into alignment. And then we look at April 29th at Wadden Hill. This is the bridge that divides, the bridge of the divided worlds. Two circles sit at opposite ends of a connecting line. Each are surrounded by an incomplete ring. This looks like polarity. Old world versus new world, material versus spiritual, individual versus collective, past versus future, and fear versus love. The rings are open, meaning neither side is completely sealed. A bridge is already being formed. Humanity is learning that transformation does not come from destroying one pole, but from creating conscious passage between them. Oh, sorry, I guess that was the bottom one that I started with. My bad. Okay, yeah, May 8th, Jack's Plantation. The photo at the bottom. This is the human flower awakening. The fivefold formation resembles a flower, a star, a living organism unfolding from its center. Five often symbolically connects with the human being, the five senses, the five extremities of the body, and embodied consciousness. So then the message for me becomes the bridge is not outside of us. The transformation must flower through the human being, much like the teachings of Jesus. The layered crescents around each point suggest waves, echoes, or even frequencies that are emanating from awakened individuals. Then in the next one at the top, we have May 10th, King Weston. This is where individuals begin forming. Humanity is learning cooperation without surrendering sovereignty, which is crucial. The story has moved from finding the self to connecting to conscious selves. Then in the next one, for May 22nd, which is the one here at the bottom, this is White Sheet Hill. This is the network expanding into a living system. The central field now has larger and smaller orbiting bodies. It resembles an atom, a solar system, neural network, or even a community with multiple levels of participation. The message here could very well be that everything is nested. The individual exists within families, communities, nations, planets, and fields of consciousness. Small actions affect larger systems, like a ripple effect. Larger systems also shape the individual. It's a yin and a yang. They're working with each other. Humanity begins to recognize then that nothing operates in isolation. And then the next one is May 30th, to cheat, and this is the gateway opening. This formation looks like an iris or an aperture, a portal, or a circular mechanism opening around a central core. The earlier symbols created alignment and connection, whereas now we see an accumulated energy appearing to open a passageway. This may represent a threshold in our consciousness. The center is protected, but no longer inaccessible. Humanity is reaching the point where concealed knowledge, memory, abilities, and truths can begin moving into our awareness. Now with the next one for June 15th. Sorry. Okay, there we go. That will be the picture at the bottom. June 15th is the field beginning to turn. The 3 rotating arms resemble a triskelion, a turbine, a pinwheel, or an energetic engine even. This is the first formation in the sequence that strongly communicates motion. The system is no longer merely arranged, but has become active. The 3 arms could represent mind, body, and soul, creation, destruction, and renewal, past, present, and future, individual, earth, and cosmos. The message in this is that process cannot simply be put back to sleep, and so the wheel has begun turning. The next one at the top of your screen is from June 21st. This is where we see full activation of the wheel. This formation resembles a mandala, a compass rose, a clock, or an activated circuit. Its 8 outer points surround an interior fourfold pattern. The earlier rotation energy has now become ordered. It's not random upheaval. It's transformation attempting to actually organize itself once again. This could symbolize humanity reaching an activation point where multiple people, places, or consciousness nodes begin responding simultaneously. I feel like this has something to do with the solar energy activations that are pulsing through our veins in these very moments. The awakening is no longer happening one person at a time. The entire wheel is lighting up, regardless of your level. Where we go one, we go all. All right, the next one is, let me make sure I went the right way. Yeah, okay. June 23rd at the bottom, and then June 25th at the top. June 23rd is where we enter the spiral. And we need the spiral. We need the vortex. Keep that in mind. The toric field, the spin of the Merkaba. We need this. Immediately after this complex activation wheel comes this much simpler spiral or labyrinth. And that's important. After outward activation comes this inner journey. Humanity cannot build a new civilization using the same unconscious wounds or addictions or hierarchies or even identities that built the old one. The spiral says, return inward travel through your own layers. Find what remains at the center when everything false is removed. It also resembles a gestational coil, suggesting that something new is forming within the collective. And then we have the one from June 25th. And this is the new pattern being conceived. A large protective enclosure surrounds 4 smaller circles or cells. This looks strikingly embryonic to me, or cellular, or seed-like. The spiral journey has produced something. A new collective identity is being conceived, but it's not yet fully born. The surrounding shape represents the womb of a collective field to me, and inside of it, the first cells of a new structure. Those 4 circles, again, they suggest foundation, direction, elements, or even stabilization of creation into physical reality. And then next, I think I have to go this way. Yes, July 3rd, this one here at the bottom. This is where it really gets beautiful, guys. For July 3rd, this one was found at Alfred's Castle. And the key is turned in this one. This resembles 2 worlds connected by a narrow channel. We've got that upper circle that contains a loop or a keyhole-like pathway, while the lower circle appears more complete and grounded. It, to me, depicts information or consciousness moving from one level into another. What was once held in the unseen field is now beginning to enter physical manifestation. We're beginning to see it in our reality. It also, to me, resembles a key, and keys are very significant for me, suggesting that humanity has reached the mechanism that's capable of unlocking this next stage of our human evolution. The passage is narrow because intention must become focused. That's where I come in as your teacher, to teach you how to really laser focus this. And I offer many beautiful things on that, by the way. Some are free, some are very, very inexpensive, and then others are deep dive and they cost a little bit more money. But I offer these lessons and this knowledge to all walks of life. Please take advantage of them. Scattered energy cannot pass cleanly through this narrow tube in this crop circle. And that's important to understand because scattered energy stays blocked and stopped up back there. So again, where we go one, we go all. But the ones with the scattered energy that can't laser focus are not creating anything for any of us. They're simply following us, the ones that can, into a new reality. And they'll have to catch up and learn later, which is perfectly fine. Because we all have different levels of learning. Now, this one at the top, July 4th, Independence Day. This is where the three realities are reconciled. Three large concentric targets are arranged within one circular field. Each appears distinct, yet all participate in that same design. Now, for me, this represents a reconciliation of three major forces: the individual, the collective, and the divine, or science, spirituality, and human experience, or perhaps even to include past civilization, present upheaval, and our future creation and evolution. The repeated target-like circles suggest focus to me, where humanity must decide what it is collectively aiming toward. Now, when I finish these, I'm going to give you the whole summation of the story all together. Let me find July 5th. Okay, here we go. This is July 5th at the bottom. And this one is at Zeal's Knoll. This is the new code multiplying. This formation suddenly becomes densely cellular. Small and large circles repeat in a complex cluster. This resembles cellular division, biological growth, bubbles, seeds, neural activity, or even information spreading through a network. The ripple effect. What was protected once as a small seed on June 25th is now multiplying. The awakening becomes contagious, not as a doctrine, but as recognition. One person recovering their authentic identity gives others permission to do the same. Again, the ripple effect, kind of like laughter is contagious. The field begins reproducing its new pattern through resonance. And then the one that was formed on my birthday, July 7th, appeared at the top. This is where consciousness becomes architecture. After this organic cellular multiplication, I don't know why I can't say that word, comes this precise geometric star that's made from intersecting squares and triangles and directional forms. This suggests that awakened consciousness now must become structured. Insight alone is not enough. New awareness must now enter. Institutions, communities, education, economics, relationships, leadership, daily choices, all have to be more structured and integrated into this new reality. So the star appears to be constructed from opposing shapes held together at one center. And to me, this means that humanity is learning to build coherence from difference, which is also very important. And then the next one, July 11th, here at the bottom. For me, this is the timeline compress. This is where timelines merge. This formation for me resembles an hourglass, a bow tie, mirrored pyramids, or even two opposing fields meeting at one central point. The diamond lattice becomes narrower toward the middle and then expands again. And this is the choice point. Many possible futures appear to be converging into a narrow passage in this moment. Humanity itself is being compressed by its unresolved contradictions. Pressure forces clarity. What cannot move through the center must fall away. So again, whatever isn't focused energy will get left choked back and left behind. It'll have to funnel through later. But the two circles on either side may also represent the old and the new worlds witnessing each other across this convergence point. Humanity cannot carry every former identity with them into the next chapter. Okay. And then for July 12th, the one here at the top, this is where the new triad is stabilizing. 3 outer nodes connect to one central point inside of a contained circle. After the intensity and the complexity of Roundway, the geometry becomes calm and balanced. This suggests stabilization after the passage. The triangle is one of the first stable geometric structures we have. 3 points can establish a plane, a foundation, or even a direction. The new system is no longer a vague possibility at this point. It has begun anchoring itself. The center connects equally to all 3 points, and indicating that the next world cannot be built through one dominant force controlling the others. The balance must replace domination. Okay, and I think that was the last one. Yeah, that's the last one. Okay, so the complete message here, taken all together, for me, this story reads that humanity has lost its center and become divided. A bridge is forming between realities that were once treated as opposites. The human being awakens as a living point of consciousness, and awakened individuals begin connecting into this larger network. That network becomes active, opening a gateway into forgotten knowledge and a new level of awareness for all. The wheel turns, but humanity must journey inward before it can move forward. Within that inward spiral, the seed of a new civilization is conceived. Then the key is turned. Competing realities then begin reconciling. And the new pattern multiplies through the collective. Consciousness must then become our architecture, not merely a belief. Humanity enters this compressed choice point where old identities and future possibilities collide. Worlds in collision, if you will. Those who pass through the center begin stabilizing the new balanced system for everyone. For me, the deepest recurring message in all of this appears to be to return to the center and connect without surrendering sovereignty, choose what we are creating, and then actually embody that. The circles do not seem to portray humanity waiting for some outside rescuer. They portray humanity remembering how to organize itself into a conscious living field, which is what I've always spoke about and taught, is that we're coming into this time of this great awakening where we will all converge our timelines and then collectively begin to create the world that we all want, that we want for all people. The gist of this here is that we're not waiting for a new world to arrive. We are the field through which it is being written. And so my statement that I've always said holds very true here, that we are who we've been waiting for. The Avebury formation from July 14th is particularly important to me. And I don't even remember, maybe I didn't show you that one. Let me look. Yeah, let me share this one. Okay, I think I can make that bigger for you. Here we are. To me, this one symbolically completes this whole last chapter I spoke on perfectly and beautifully. Because symbolically, this formation appears to show what happens after that balanced triad that was seen at Milk Hill on July 12th. This one on July 14th shows that the new consciousness becomes decentralized. At Milk Hill, the three outer points were still connected to a single center. That suggested a new system becoming stable and organized around a shared source. And then 2 days later, the center is gone. Instead, we now see three distinct circular bodies, each containing its own inner center, all held within one much larger, faint circular field. So for me, that changes the message from we are connected through one central structure to each of us now carries the center within ourselves. Each of us who have focused our intention and energy through that narrow tube to the keyhole. This is sovereignty without separation. And that's huge. That's huge to me, guys. The three circles that you see here are not identical. The inner discs and the crescent-like rings sit at different positions, almost like little moons in different phases, which is perfect because this indicates how humanity is not all awakening at the same time. We're not all healed at the same time, and we're not all developing at exactly the same time or the same pace. So I feel like this shows that perfectly and beautifully, because some people are full and understand, some will be opening, and then some will be passing through the shadow. Yet all remain inside the same greater field. The disappearance of that central authority really matters. The July 12th formation had that central hub that was connecting everything. And here, there is no visible central ruler or authority or command point. The energy has become disturbed. To me, this very strongly symbolizes the movement away from systems where one institution or leader or religion or government or technology or even ideology controls the collective anymore. And yes, CERN being shut off on June 29th could have very well had a huge hand in our catapulting forward so quickly. But the new structure does not demand that everyone surrender their individual center. Each node is whole in itself while still participating in this larger project. They perfectly match the idea that connection can happen and should happen without conformity. Unity without a loss of identity, which is completely opposite from what most spiritual life coaches will teach you. That self-identity, that sovereignty is crucially important to hold on to. We are not supposed to blend together in hive mind. And if you need help reclaiming your true identity before the dogma, before the brainwashing, before the programming that happened to you in life, I have a really great identity reclamation workbook that's for sale in my store on my website. Really great. I created that myself, and it's amazing. And I used my own self journey and how I made sure to make things work for me, and then also figured out how to make it work for others. And it's all in there. It's all in there. I'm so proud of this piece of work that I've done. So please check that out if you need it. But that long loop, even, that's bringing the pattern into the physical world. And maybe the most curious part is that long, narrow loop extending downward from that left circle, because it resembles several things all at once for me. I see an umbilical cord, I see a grounding wire, I see a needle threading through something into matter. I see a seed beginning to sprout. I even see a key entering a lock, a transmission line extending outside the protected field. My strongest symbolic reading is that the new consciousness is no longer remaining safely inside of the conceptual or spiritual realm. It is beginning to truly anchor downward into living reality, into the physical. Those earlier formations, they spoke of awakening, networking, gateways, gestation, multiplication, and constructing a new pattern. But now, one part of that pattern appears to reach beyond the circle and touch the material world. The idea must become action. The vision must become structure. The spiritual understanding must become the way we raise our children, teach, heal, exchange resources, govern ourselves, build communities, and the way we treat one another. So, to recap, on July 11th, humanity entered the compression point where possible timelines converge. On July 12th, a balanced new structure stabilized around a shared center. And on July 14th, that central power is distributed. Each individual becomes a conscious center within the greater field, and the emerging pattern begins anchoring into physical reality. So I think the message in this final formation is that the new world will not be handed down from another authority, that it will be carried by many sovereign people, each holding the living center within themselves. And the three different phases, to me, they seem to add that you do not have to be at the same stage to belong in the same great awakening. So now, if we break it down to a complete message. I would say that humanity first remembers its center. It bridges opposing realities. The individual awakens. Awakened individuals form a network. The network becomes a living system. Then a gateway opens. The collective wheel begins to move. Humanity journeys inward, and then a new pattern is conceived and multiplied. Consciousness becomes the architecture. Possible timelines converge. A balanced foundation stabilizes, and then centralized power dissolves, and the center is placed inside of each person. And I think probably the most profound takeaway from this is that regardless of what we see playing out in the world around us on the political stage or the religious stage or the UFO stage, we are not being rescued by the new world. We are learning to create it and carry it. Each individual awakened soul becomes a beacon. Each sovereign person becomes a center. And together, we become the field through which humanity's next story is written. Okay, so after I made the crop circle video, I actually found an astrologer who talks about planetary alignments leading up to the end of July. And I just want to share a bit of that with you because I actually feel like beginning July 29th with the full moon in Aquarius, that really big things are going to happen and pop off for us. And I also forgot to add what I expect to see going forward with the crop circles. What type of crop circles I think we will see in the coming days or weeks, if in fact we are the ones collectively writing the story that creates the crop circles. So stick around for that too. But first, I want to just show you really fast. This is I am elements. And I don't even have this person on my radar. I don't know how this managed to pop up, but it's incredible. And this is about Mercury meeting 3I Atlas.
And we're now deep inside the Barbeau basket. And tonight, we're going to be exploring what's unfolding in the night sky right now and how it all appears to converge around the mysterious interstellar object, 3I Atlas. We'll be exploring a remarkable sequence of planetary alignments involving the planet Mercury. Mercury is now completing its retrograde, slowing to station direct in exact conjunction with 3I Atlas. Meanwhile, the Sun has entered Leo and will meet Jupiter on July 29th, fully releasing the power of the 3I Atlas activations that began while Jupiter lingered at its degree of exaltation in Cancer back in February through early April, and that the Sun passed through on July 7th. And at the same time, a powerful full moon aligns with Pluto in Aquarius, fully energizing the transformative themes of the Barbeau basket. From there, we move into an extraordinary August, a solar eclipse in Leo on August 12th, Mercury's conjunction with Jupiter on August 15th, and finally, Mercury's reunion with the Sun on August 27th, completing a symbolic journey from curiosity and reflection toward wisdom, clarity, and a renewed awareness of the wonder woven through the natural world. And finally, I'll give you a solar weather update and take a look at the latest solar activity and leave you with some beautiful new time lapses from Helios Solar Studio. So if you're fascinated by the unfolding patterns of the cosmos, I really think you're going to enjoy this one. So let's dive in. So to start out this video, we're going to be looking at 3-eye atlas in the night sky, and basically where it's been since February of 2026. So in the beginning of February, 3-eye atlas was entering Gemini in the sky, which corresponds with Cancer in the astrological charts. So since this time, 3-eye atlas has basically been sitting between 10 and 16 degrees of Cancer since February. Well, then I wanted to look at what conjunctions it had since then. On May 29th, Venus conjuncted 3-eye atlas at 12 degrees of Cancer. And then not too long after that, on June 10th, Mercury made its first conjunction with 3-eye atlas, also at 12 degrees of Cancer. Now, Mercury on June 10th, it was still in its direct motion, so it moved right past 3-eye atlas within one day. But then Mercury stationed retrograde at the end of June, just before it met Jupiter. Mercury almost reached Jupiter, but it didn't quite get there. It was about 3 degrees short. And then Mercury retrograded right back to the exact same degree as 3-eye atlas at 16 degrees of Cancer. And then it paused directly in conjunction with 3-eye atlas. And basically on the 23rd, Mercury stations direct. And then on the 27th...
Like, how crazy is it that we're still talking about 3-eye atlas? And if none of you, or if any of you have not seen our Beyond the Veil show on 3-eye atlas, you need to check that out, because we saw some really cool stuff with 3-eye atlas, that it was very pivotal for this great awakening, and for it to still be in our vocabulary right now, and it matters to what is actually taking place with humanity and collective consciousness, is incredibly cool to me. Not to mention this whole Babalt's basket thing.
Visually in the sky, it is almost eclipsing 3-eye atlas. It is almost touching 3-eye atlas in the sky. It comes so close. So it's almost as if Mercury, representing our mind, it was curious. It passed it, and it said, wait, there's something more to this. And it went back, and it explored it. And for 1 week, Mercury was basically going to visit and examine 3-eye atlas close up at exactly the 16th degree of Cancer. And the Sabian symbol at this degree is the seed grows into knowledge and life. So this is symbolic of a situation that is pregnant with meaning and significance. This is very significant that Mercury is pausing to reflect and to look at 3-eye atlas, examining it close before it moves forward. And then just 2 days later, while Mercury is still within 1 degree of 3-eye atlas, Jupiter conjuncts the Sun. Now, what's powerful about this is that both the Sun and Jupiter conjuncted 3-eye atlas at 15 degrees of Cancer, which is Jupiter's exaltation point. So both the Sun and Jupiter were activated by 3-eye atlas at the exact same degree, and now they're coming together on the 29th of July. And they're coming together at the 6th degree of Leo. The Sabian symbol at this degree is...
And the 29th of July is this full moon in Aquarius as well. Okay, keep that in mind.
Is the wonder of the constellations of stars in the night sky. It's pointing us to the wonder that we're witnessing. This powerful combination of the expansion of Jupiter with the power of the Sun. It's almost like consciousness is expanding. Consciousness is gaining wisdom and abundance and growth. All of this ancestral wisdom is being activated.
Yes.
3-eye atlas has been sitting in Cancer, the sign of ancestral wisdom and nurturing, and it's almost like this rebirth is being activated at this time on the 29th of July when the Sun and Jupiter come together. But on
I think that's huge, you guys. And I am just tickled pink over the moon about this. I think this full moon is going to be so much more powerful than any full moon we have ever had, because of all of these other clocks that are ticking into place at the same time. We're all clicking into place. Everything's falling into place as it should.
that same day, we also have a full moon, and the full moon is occurring in Aquarius. And the moon is conjunct with Pluto too. Pluto's sitting at 4 degrees, forming this Barbo basket configuration. So it's almost like Jupiter and the sun are activating, and the full moon is activating with the Barbo basket. And we just have this splendid alignment of everything that has been activated by 3 Atlas. 3 Atlas's perihelion chart had the moon at 4 degrees of Aquarius, which is exactly where the moon will be during the sun and Jupiter conjunction.
Bam.
So this is a very powerful conjunction. And Jupiter as I mentioned, was probably the most activated by 3i Atlas. I mean, it was the final planet that 3i Atlas flew by, and they both sat together in Cancer for months. 3i Atlas passed by at Jupiter's exaltation point. The Saturn Neptune conjunction occurred while Jupiter was at its exaltation point. Comet MAPS had its perihelion on the exact day that Jupiter finally left its exaltation point, and the exact same day that 3i Atlas paused.
And I'm going to pause him right there for a moment because I want you to understand the significance of Jupiter. Okay. A lot of people don't understand astrological talk, but Jupiter rules growth, expansion, optimism, abundance. It's always associated with luck and wisdom and higher learning. That's huge for what we're going through right now. It is considered the greatest benefic planet of all of them. It brings opportunities and prosperity and a sense of purpose wherever it influences anything in a chart. It's huge. And for it right now to be exalted in Cancer means that it's enhancing emotional intelligence and those nurturing qualities and generosity for the world. That's incredible. That's incredible. And it fits poetically beautiful with what I'm talking about that's showing up in the crop circles. All right.
At 10 degrees of Cancer, and then began moving back towards 15 degrees of Cancer, where I met the sun on 7/7, July 7th. These things are just so crazy. July 29th appears to be an extremely powerful day. And the Sabian symbol is the wonder of the constellations of stars in the night sky. The wonder. And Jupiter is now in Leo. The sun is in Leo, and Leo is about sovereign leadership. Humanity is maybe becoming sovereign again. I just think that this is going to be a very powerful time at the end of July.
See, sovereignty, right? He went through the emotional intelligence of Cancer and then into Leo, where we are sovereign, because it's very important for us to keep our individuality. Don't let anybody ever tell you different.
But then we move into August, and we have this eclipse on the 12th of August. And then Mercury races forward after it reflects on 3i Atlas for that week between July 22nd and July 27th. And then Mercury meets Jupiter on the 15th of August for the first time. So like I said, Mercury almost got to Jupiter, but then it paused and said, no, wait, I need to go back and really take a look at 3i Atlas one more time. So it goes back and explores it, and then it moves forward. And then on the 15th of August, which is the exact same day that we received the wow signal 49 years ago, we have Mercury, the mind, conjoining with Jupiter. So it's like the wisdom has entered the mind. We've perceived it. It's all finally making sense at this point.
It's all finally making sense. And remember, that was the wow signal. That wow signal was picked up on the very same day in 1977 when they said that Elvis was dead, which I don't believe he is. Something huge happened on that day, and something huge is happening on this day, but it won't be a negative. It's where wisdom really embodies each of you that are doing the inner work.
And this is just 3 days after the eclipse that was on the 12th. And the Sabian symbol for the Jupiter-Mercury conjunction on the 15th of August is children on a swing in the safety of a huge oak tree. And then finally, at the end of August, the 27th, the Sun and Mercury conjoin. The Sun and Mercury conjunction occurs at 4 degrees of Virgo, and the Sabian symbol is a person becoming aware of nature spirits and normally unseen spiritual energies.
Now I'm going to interrupt him again because remember what I've been telling all of you for many years now, that as our right and left hemisphere of our brain are force merged from the solar and cosmic energy, the soup that we're going through right now in the dark rift of the Milky Way, that more and more people will become aware of being psychic, clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, claircognizant. Some people are going to see the spirits of the fairies. Some people are going to see the spirits of past loved ones. Some people are going to hear things that they weren't used to hearing. This is going to be a time for us to really anchor in this new reality, because for anyone who is frightened or startled or confused by this new wisdom that's embodying them, they're going to need us to be their beacons, to walk them through this. It's time for us to be those footprints in the sand as Jesus was, and carry those who cannot understand this walk, this path. We're the navigators. We're the beacon. I'm the beacon that leads you home to self. That's what that means. We are all that beacon.
So protection under an oak tree in nature, and then becoming aware of the spirits of nature, the unseen spiritual energies. So this is a powerful time that we're entering. A lot more activations with 3i Atlas have been occurring, because 3i Atlas passed through the solar system, the inner solar system, at the end of 2025 into early 2026. And then it's basically been on its way out. In March, it passed by Jupiter, but it's basically been in the same spot in the sky since then. And now all these planets have been passing through and getting activated by 3i Atlas one more time. So I think that this is a profound period, especially with Mercury. Mercury is the messenger of the gods. So it's almost like he's going to explore 3i Atlas this next week. And then I just really think the 29th of July is going to be a very powerful day. That's all I wanted to share with you about 3i Atlas and the astrological update. Now we'll take a look at the sun that is currently.
Okay. And I will share this link with you if you would like to listen to the rest of his video about the sun. But for now, I want to give you what I think we can expect from the near future crop circles, if in fact we are the ones writing the story of the crop circle's appearance, which I really fully believe that we are. So based on the progression that we've already witnessed within the other crop circles, I think that the next chapter appears likely to involve birth, distribution, embodiment, and collective choice, real choice. Those earlier formations seemed to be leading humanity through a sequence. Find your center, recognize the greater field, connect the individual points, activate the collective network. The next formations may show up what happens once that network comes online, becomes active and alive. So, number one, the birth or emergence symbol should be in the next crop circle that we see. We may see a formation that's resembling a seed opening up, or an egg dividing, a flower unfolding, a star being born. Something emerging from a center of a protected circle. This would represent that birth of a new pattern within humanity. The previous formations have shown that we've already went through the preparation, the alignment, activation of the field. So the next logical step in this for me is that we see something new emerging from it. So I think the message in that would be that the new world is no longer merely being imagined. It's physically being born now into reality, fully anchored, fully visible and tangible for us to see and feel and smell and taste and hear. And then the second one would be like a living network without a central ruler. So I think we may see many equal circles or nodes or petals or points that are connected together, but with no single point dominating the design, similar to the way they've been breaking away already. Those earlier formations repeatedly were showing an emphasis of finding our center or the center. But once the individuals have found their own sovereign center, done their own inner work, then they can connect without surrendering themselves to another central authority. This formation would represent humanity creating this living network that's based upon resonance rather than control. Sovereign centers awaken. They recognize one another and they begin forming a new collective structure. Not one ruler controlling everything beneath it like we're used to. We're truly birthing that new world that I've always known we would birth and that Dolores Cannon and Edgar Cayce both foresaw. This is that moment where Atlantis and the people of Atlantis are rising. Not one voice demanding obedience, but many conscious individuals participating inside of one shared field. And then third, I think that we'll see a choice point or a branching path type of circle. A later formation should contain something like a fork or branching arms or mirrored pathways or two possible destinations. Maybe even one pattern dividing into distinctly different outcomes. This would mark that collective choice point. Humanity may be shown two possibilities. One path creates the old systems using new language, new leaders, new technology, and the other path creates something genuinely different. The question may become at that point, will humanity reproduce what it has already known? Or will it finally create from a new level of consciousness? And the difference between that truly is being able to do that shadow work, through identity, learn that inner energy work so that you can remove that fear within your nervous system that clings to what's familiar in the old and allows you to move into something completely unknown and new. I have so many tools to help you to achieve this. This would be that moment when awakening can no longer remain only an idea. Humanity would have to decide what it intends to build. And then I think probably about the fourth crop circle out, we should see consciousness becoming physical architecture. So we may begin seeing designs that resemble blueprints, buildings, temples, circuitry, communities, transportation systems, energy systems, or structured geometric formations. And this would indicate that consciousness is moving from the invisible field into physical reality. The awakening would begin expressing itself through community and healing and education and technology, new systems of exchange, new ways of governing and organizing even, and true stewardship of the earth, the way that we are meant to be. And the message in that would be that now that you remember who you are, what will you construct from that remembrance? The pattern is no longer only spiritual at that point. It becomes practical and embodied and visual. And then I really feel like at some point in our near future, we should also see a few more crop circles. One of them would be a broadcast or a beacon formation. we should see a formation that resembles waves moving outward, even a lighthouse beam or a signal, an antenna, a pulse, concentric rings that look like waveform, sound form, echoing out, or information radiating from one point across a much larger area. And this would show that the new pattern is actually spreading now. It wouldn't spread primarily through force or argument or authority, but more through natural resonance and coherence. One awakened person affects another type of scenario, the butterfly effect. One coherent community influencing another. One new idea activating something already waiting inside of thousands of people. That kind of an idea. The signal would not tell humanity what to believe. It would remind humanity of something it already knows. And that would show the symbolism that the beacon has been activated and that the message is moving through the field. And then, too, I think that we should see something that resembles planetary stewardship in our symbolism of the next crop circle after that. I think that eventually we should see like an Earth-like geometry, a world encircled or protected, humans forming a surrounding, or excuse me, human form surrounding a central sphere. As you can tell, Mercury retrograde might be over as of today, but it's still got my mouth. So human forms surrounding a central sphere, or even roots and branches that are connecting. Perhaps even like a design uniting celestial and earthly symbols together. This would represent humanity accepting responsibility for the world that it is creating. The story would move beyond personal awakening at this point, and even beyond collective connection. It would become about stewardship. Humanity would no longer behave as though it were merely trapped on Earth, waiting to be rescued by governments, visitors, technology, or outside forces, but begin recognizing ourselves as conscious participants in the life of this planet. So I think the final message of this chapter that's about to unfold potentially could be and should be that we are not waiting for a transition, that the transition is being born through you, through each of you. And the larger story here would be that if the current sequence continues, the coming story should unfold as sovereign individuals that awaken and find their center. And then those centers recognize one another, form a living network without surrendering to their individuality. And from that network, then that new pattern is born. Humanity arrives at the choice point. Recreate the old world in a different costume because it's familiar and your nervous system isn't yet reset and healed, or build something that has never existed before. Consciousness then becomes community, structure, healing, education, technology, and stewardship. The signal spreads through resonance, and humanity finally realizes that the future was never something that was coming to save them, that we are the signal. We are the builders. We are the bridge between the world that was and the world that is being born. Because we are who we've been waiting for. So in truth, we are who we've been waiting for. I look forward to hearing your comments and even suggestions or things that you saw within the crop circles that I didn't catch. And please, for any of you who need guidance for your future, connection with your past, identity reclamation, or any of my books for further education, I welcome you to reach out to me. Each and every one of you, regardless of what level or stage you are at, I can speak your language and I can reach you and meet you where you are. And until we meet again, be well and be blessed in love and light. Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. I would like to introduce you to one of my newest programs called Awakening the Timeline Architect, a guided journey. Imagine a radiant cosmic tree of life, golden roots glowing in the earth, representing the past, a strong, radiant trunk symbolizing the present, and branches stretching infinitely into the cosmos, adorned with blossoms of light, each a potential timeline. Threads of shimmering energy weave through the tree, illustrating the interconnectedness of time. At the center, a luminous heart radiates sacred energy, anchoring the timelines into unity. This program serves as a living reminder that you are the architect, the timeline weaver, and the conscious creator of your reality, providing the tools to rewrite your history and anchor your highest future. First, I will take you through what is called the visual anchor of the cosmic tree. And then we will understand a little bit better the terminology of the timeline weaver, followed with visualization foundations quiz. Next, we'll go to the guided timeline alchemy practice. In step 1, I'll show you how to enter the quantum field. In step 2, I'll show you how to alter the past. In step 3, I'm going to teach you how to anchor a future timeline. And then with step 4, we're going to ground that timeline and close. At the end of this segment, there is a practice sequence quiz to make sure that you're learning to do this on your own. And then in the last phase of this program is an integration and a daily sovereign practice. Affirmations for the timeline architect, a journal page with reflective integrations, and a final timeline architect certification for you to have with your name on it to put on your wall in a frame that says, I have awakened the timeline architect within me. You can find this and more programs, books, and goods at earthsonglovecraft.com. If you should need a psychic medium, or if you are looking to have past life or healing trauma regression, you can also book those services with me at the website. Thank you, and have a blessed and beautiful rest of your day. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are across the nation and around the world. This is Deja Brew, waking you up to truth, one sip at a time. I have an update on the crop circles that I've been talking about. Many of you who watch my channel regularly know that I have proposed that the crop circles are actually telling a story of human evolution and what we are creating together. Well, this is our newest one from July 20, I think it's actually the 21st, even though that says the 22nd. And it actually fits quite nicely, very strongly, with the symbolic consciousness storyline that I've been following. This formation looks very much like the chapter where the awakened and the sovereign centers begin to function as an interconnected transmission system. This one feels very much like a picture more than like a circuit diagram for consciousness, okay? So with the forecast that I made with the last video, the circles here remain visibly separate, just like we talked about before with the last crop circle, but they are connected along one continuous line, and that matches this anticipated progression that I said that we should see. The individual centers, the connection, the collective network, consciousness becoming architecture, and then the broadcast. The different circles also contain different structures. One of them is ringed, another appears patterned or gridded. The smaller central point has a downward branching feature, and the right-hand circle seems surrounded by smaller marks. Symbolically, I think that this suggests the unity without uniformity. Humanity does not become one identical mind. We're not a hive mind that we're becoming. We are different people, different communities, and all at different stages of awakening, and that remains distinct while exchanging information through a shared field that is now coming in and touching us, affecting us. The small central circle with the descending branch is especially interesting to me because it resembles that choice point or grounding point that I had predicted earlier, where the energetic development must finally enter this physical life. In other words, the awakening cannot remain an idea. It must descend into action or structure, relationship, lived reality. The pattern sphere fits the predicted stage of consciousness becoming the architecture as well. While the line and the smaller surrounding marks are suggesting a transmission or a signaling or a broadcasting of some sort, that brings in the beacon imagery that I expected as well, where we're really shining our light. So it belongs in the storyline as the next step of the next chapter of the story. And I think it fits quite nicely immediately after the stage where the centralized authority has dissolved into this sovereign, inner-centered individuality. To me, it's saying that we're finding our center and we're recognizing the greater field while also remaining sovereign. That we're connecting these individual points, activating the network, anchoring it into reality, into the physicality, and beginning to broadcast the new pattern out into the world. Perhaps even it could actually compress several anticipated chapters of this crop circle story into one formation, which is the decentralized network, the branching choice point, geometric architecture, and the beacon of broadcast or the broadcast stage. But the message that I'm getting from this visual language is that we're no longer waiting for this central power to awaken humanity, and that each conscious individual is now a physical node of that, and that we're aligning ourselves and we're doing this exchange of the signal and carrying it out into the world. So the sovereign self does not disappear into the collective, but it is becoming one living instrument inside of this much larger orchestra, which I think is really beautiful. So this is basically, this crop circle to me says that the network of us is awakened. That the next chapter in humanity's crop story circle is that if these crop circles appear throughout 2026 as chapters in a story about humanity that we are writing through this collective field, which I firmly believe that we are, then this newest formation appears to be a mark of an important turning point for us now, finally. The earlier formations that we had looked at seemed to be speaking of awakening and transformation and the return to our own inner center. They all showed us that humanity could no longer wait for one government or one institution or one leader or one outside power to rescue us, and that the message appeared to be calling each person to move inward, to find your center, to remember who you are, become sovereign within the self. But the awakening was never meant to end with the individual, which is exactly what I teach and I speak on all the time. I have helped thousands of people across the world to reclaim who they truly are after trauma, conditioning, abandonment, and years of living according to other people's expectations. Through intuitive guidance, shadow work, quantum healing, spiritual self-discovery, and education, real tools applicable to whatever your situation is. I help them to return to themselves and to truly build a life that finally feels like it's theirs. The psychic work that I do is how I illuminate what is hidden from them. The regression work reveals where it began. The shadow work helps them to face it. The healing work has helped them to release it. The books teach the process. The classes teach the process and how to use the tools. And the ministry gives it all spiritual meaning and better understanding. Self-love and self-reclamation are the destination. So if you're ready to take the journey, I truly am the beacon that can lead you home to self. And we really are who we've been waiting for. So visit me at earthsonglovecraft.com. Time. This newest formation, it has those several separate circles that are joined together by this one continuous line. Each circle is different. Some contain rings or patterns or grids. One is smaller and appears to branch downward, as I discussed earlier, and another seems surrounded by those smaller points, almost as though it's transmitting a signal. To me, this resembles a living map of human consciousness. Each circle could very well represent individual souls or a community or even a unique center of awareness. They remain separate and distinct, for sure, yet they're connected through that one shared field. Humanity is not being asked to become identical or to surrender its individuality. We are being shown how to become connected without losing ourself. That's one of the things that I teach, that we have to first come back to self and truly know thyself. Learn who you are again. This is the unity without uniformity. And I feel like the story is moving from personal awakening into a collective coordination at this point. For years, people have been waking up in isolation. So for years, people have been awakening in isolation. One person remembers something, another begins questioning the old system, another heals a generational wound, someone else finds the courage to speak. And at first, these awakenings seem scattered, like separate light flickering across a dark landscape, if you will. But then the light begins to recognize one another. The connections begin to form. Information is now traveling. The isolated circles become a network. The smaller central circle, with what appears to be that branch descending from it, may very well represent the moment when consciousness must finally become grounded. Awakening can no longer remain only in our thoughts or our meditation or our conversation, that it must descend into the physical world through our choices and our relationships, creation, and action. The new consciousness must be lived. The pattern circle resembles architecture or information that's being organized into a form. The surrounding marks resemble a broadcast. Together, they suggest that humanity may be moving into a stage, finally, where awakened individuals begin consciously transmitting a new pattern into the collective field. So, for me, the message symbolically is saying you are no longer waiting for that central power to awaken humanity. That awakened persons are now living nodes in this greater network. To align yourself and connect, ground your knowledge, and begin broadcasting a new pattern. Because we are who we've been waiting for. And perhaps the next chapter is not about one great event arriving from outside of us. Perhaps the event is the connection itself. All of the sovereign individuals that are not disappearing into the collective, but each person becomes a unique instrument within a much larger orchestra. Each awakened heart becomes another beacon. Each voice becomes part of the signal that we broadcast. All of the circles are connected. The network is most definitely forming. And the story that humanity is writing may very well now be saying that we're finding our center and it's time to connect them. Thank you for joining me. Somewhere along the way, many of us learned simply to survive, right? But we forgot how to truly feel alive. We became exhausted, we became disconnected, overstimulated, spiritually curious, emotionally overwhelmed, and quietly searching for something real. So I've created a different kind of community. Not performative spirituality, not toxic positivity, not doom and gloom, a place for real conversation, real healing, real growth, real people navigating life together. So I want to welcome all of you to Earthsong's Inner Circle. This is going to be a sanctuary for truth seekers, awakening souls, wounded healers, curious minds, deep healers, Gen X wanderers, and people who are rebuilding themselves from the inside out. In our group meetings, which will happen once a month on the third Sunday of every month, there will be a small live teaching from myself, maybe a guided audio journey in the experience for that particular meeting. Always practical tools, possibly even worksheets that you can download and use at home, but a real supportive private community with conscious conversations, healing without judgment, growth without pressure, and a place where you don't have to pretend to be anything. Raw, real, and genuine. Now, there are 3 tiers that I'm going to offer to this Inner Circle group. The first tier is $19. That's the basic. Meet once a month, talk with us for an hour and a half, be with like-minded people, learn a lot of great stuff. If you need a little more in-depth learning and you want a little more availability to get a hold of me, there will be a second tier that is a more advanced opportunity for you to learn and to meet with me, where we will have not just the monthly meeting, but a second bi-weekly meeting in between. And like I said, more contact with me. If you want to go even further than that and you really want to dig deep and learn more, there will be a third tier called the plus tier, the group. And in the plus tier, you will have 24/7 access to me via email and always respond immediately. Basically, I'll be on call for you for any of your anxiety or questions or growth and rewards that you want to share, as well as extra learning, working one-on-one with me so that you can truly go deep. I wanted to create a community where we can really connect on a deeper level, aside from all the woo-woo, aside from all the hoopla, and just be genuine and raw with each other. I want you to be able to trust me. I want you to see that you can. So I think that this group is the best way to offer that. So this group is where healing meets beautiful strangeness, because I like strange. And not everything that's unexplained is darkness. Some mysteries are actually invitations. So this Earthsong Inner Circle is a private membership community that truly is for seekers, healers, thinkers, experiencers, creatives, and quietly awakening humans who know that there is more to life than survival mode and surface level living. Be part of a transformational workshop. Be a part of a consciousness laboratory. And a little bit candlelit library hidden somewhere between psychology, spirituality, and forgotten architecture of human potential. Again, inside of the inner circle, we will explore identity reclamation, emotional healing and nervous system repair, shadow work without shame, consciousness expansion, intuition development, symbolism, synchronicity, and archetypes, quantum mindset and timeline work, the deeper patterns behind human behavior, ancient ideas through a modern lens, and the beautiful Lovecraftian corners of reality that invite wonder instead of fear. This is not a place for a doom spiral or cult behavior or even performative enlightenment. This is truly a grounded sanctuary for people that are rebuilding themselves from the inside out, much as I have done. And again, the membership will include monthly live teachings, exclusive audio journeys and consciousness activation, downloadable worksheets and transformation tools, private community discussion. You know, we're going to be like Vegas. What happens in our group stays in our group. Early access to books, projects, and workshops. And that will be another perk, actually, of the second and the third tier. You will get a certain percentage off for each tier of any type of new projects, workshops, or books that I have coming out if you're interested in purchasing them. There will always be a Q&A session for every single meeting and guided exploration. There will be new monthly themes focused on healing, awakening, empowerment, and self-understanding in each and every meeting that we have. Some doors are meant to remain closed, perhaps. This one was built for those who are ready to walk through. So I encourage you to join me at Earthsong's Inner Circle. Awaken gently and remember deeply. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are across the nation and around the world. This is Deja Brew, waking you up to truth, one sip at a time. Before we begin today, I want you to consider something. Most of us have no problem recognizing patterns in the world around us. We look at society and we see cycles of fear, division, compassion, awakening, conflict, cooperation, moving through humanity as a whole. But what if the same principle that's operating collectively is also operating individually? What if humanity itself has a dominant frequency? And what if each one of us is contributing to it every single day with every single thought and every single action, every single choice? Collective consciousness can be thought of as the sum total of humanity's beliefs or emotions, expectations, fears, intentions, perceptions. Each individual consciousness becomes a thread of a much larger tapestry. When enough people hold similar emotional states of being or beliefs, those frequencies begin to reinforce one another, shaping cultural movements, social trends, historic events, and perhaps even physical reality that we, the collective, experience. We see this actually throughout history. Entire civilizations move through these seasons of fear, expansion, innovation, collapse, or rebirth. Humanity, in many ways, projects outward what is consciously embodying us inwardly. And here's the fascinating part of that. The collective is not separate from you. You are the collective. And the collective is made of billions of individual dominant frequencies interacting with one another. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotional patterns, your wounds, your expectations, and your perceptions are all constantly broadcasting information. Both your personal reality sees it and the larger human field will see it and feel it. So if enough individuals begin healing their fear and embodying compassion, real compassion, not the spiritual hijacked crap, but real compassion, and reclaiming your personal sovereignty, choosing creation over victimhood, owning your mistakes and learning from them to be better, then the collective field itself begins to change. The macro reflects the micro. The story that humanity is writing together is made up of the stories of each of us that are alive individually. Which means that when you change your dominant frequency, you're not simply changing your own life. You're participating in actually changing the world. Perhaps even Michael Jackson understood that with his song saying that if you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself. I think he very much embodied spiritual truths that the Buddha and Jesus and so many others taught. I want to help you to understand all of that. So today I want to talk about what exactly the dominant frequency projection is. And perhaps along the way, you're even going to discover why you keep repeating some of the same patterns. So welcome back to Deja Brew, where we are always waking you up to truth, one sip at a time. And today we are going to be talking about something that may completely change the way that you understand manifestation, healing, relationships, even maybe why certain patterns seem to repeat in your life over and over again, and how to make that stop. This concept is called dominant frequency projection, DFP. Now, before some of you immediately think, oh, great, this is more of those manifestation buzzwords, please stay with me. I promise you're going to want to hear this. Because whether you view this through psychology, neuroscience, spirituality, quantum theories of consciousness, or just simply through your own life experiences, this principle is operating whether you know it or not. And I know that when we know what it is that we're creating, we can better control what it is that we create. And understanding it may be one of those missing pieces between where you are and where you're trying to be. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's dive into this. All right, first of all, what is this dominant frequency projection that I'm speaking of? Simply put, dominant frequency projection is this idea that your life tends to reflect not what you occasionally think or occasionally wish for or even affirm, but actually what you most consistently embody and are feeling. It's an emotional signal. Let me say that again. Your life tends to mirror what you most consistently feel. And that includes how you think, how you act, all those things, right? But it's mainly the feeling. It's mainly the emotion, because you can't lie to the universe about how you really feel, even if you can fool other people. Okay? So we have to get real with ourselves about how we feel about things. Myself with money, for example. I had a really hard time ever charging anyone for these services for a very long time. And it wasn't because I didn't feel worthy of the money. It was because I know what that feels like to be without. And so I was trying to help other people. But in the process, I kept pushing the money away by feeling that feeling for them, rather than accepting the compensation for my skills and my abilities to help them. I was looking at it all wrong. I was feeling it all wrong, even though I was coming from a good place. So see how that contrasts? So it's your dominant frequency. It's the emotional, the mental, the energetic, and the behavioral side that you return to most often. So think of yourself like a radio tower. You may consciously want love, abundance, peace, success, and healing. But if your dominant signature is one of fear, resentment, hyperdiligence, hypervigilance, self-doubt, or unworthiness, then that is the frequency that is being broadcast most of the time. That's why the affirmations don't work. That's why praying every day won't necessarily work, because you have to feel that you deserve it. You have to have that alignment within your heart and your mind. Greg Braden calls it heart-mind coherence, or heart-brain coherence. So that frequency, that's what the dominant frequency is, right? And that frequency's projection is what influences the choices that you make, what opportunities that you're going to notice, how many people respond to you, what behaviors you tolerate, and even how you interpret events around you. And it's not punishment. It's just a pattern. And we get stuck in bad patterns. We're all guilty of it. Even if we think we're coming from a place of our heart, right? Many people attempt to change their lives by changing their thoughts alone. They repeat those affirmations. I am abundant. I am worthy. I am successful. But if their nervous system still feels unsafe or abandoned or unworthy, or you're sympathetically feeling what others would feel rather than what you should be feeling for yourself, the subconscious mind often overrides this conscious intention. This is why someone can genuinely desire a healthy relationship while repeatedly attracting unavailable partners. Or they desire abundance while unconsciously sabotaging opportunity. The nervous system always seeks familiarity before it seeks happiness. Okay, let's hear that one more time. The nervous system seeks familiarity before happiness. If chaos feels more familiar, then peace may initially feel very uncomfortable. If struggle feels familiar, then ease may feel suspicious. If being overlooked feels familiar to you, then genuine love may actually trigger fear in you. Your body remembers experiences long after your mind thinks that it has moved on. And I help a lot of people to integrate that and heal that and be able to release it in a proper way. And there is a science behind this. Okay, so we're going to take a look at that now from a scientific perspective, because there are several things that are happening here. First, we have confirmation bias. Your brain constantly looks for evidence supporting what you already believe, not what you wish will change. Second, we have something called the reticular activating system, or the RAS. This is the filtering system in your brain. You notice what you expect to notice. If you believe the world is unsafe, your brain becomes highly efficient at finding danger and proving that right. If you believe opportunities exist, your brain becomes better at recognizing those possibilities. Third, we have this neuroplasticity. Neurons that fire together wire together. Repeated thoughts become pathways. Repeated emotions become familiar. Repeated behavior becomes identity. And identity is your power tool, because people rarely outperform who they believe themselves to be. That's actually why I have this workbook called the Identity Reclamation, to help you get to that step, that level. And I'm more than happy to work with you one-on-one as well if you don't want to do a workbook on your own. Okay, let me give you some examples here because I want to make this practical for you. Let's imagine two people lose their job. Person number one carries this dominant belief that nothing ever works out for me. And within days, they begin noticing evidence that supports that belief. Rejection feels personal. Fear increases. Confidence decreases. And motivation then declines. Now, you've got person number two, who carries a dominant belief of life always redirects me towards something better, right? When one door closes, another one opens. God's rejection is God's protection. Life is always redirecting them. They're hopeful. And they experience the very same event, but they remain curious. They network. They apply themselves, and they stay open. Same event, different frequency, different experience. Okay, another example. If your dominant inner story is that people always leave me, you may unconsciously push people away. Or maybe you overgive. Maybe you become overly attached. Maybe you're constantly seeking reassurance. Maybe you interpret neutral behavior as rejection rather than what it is, neutral. It's Switzerland, but you see it as they have a problem with you. And then when relationships fail, the original belief appears confirmed. The cycle continues. We have to learn to heal our inner child and own our own shit so that we can move forward in healthy ways. I know, because I had to do it myself. Okay, now from a spiritual perspective, spiritually speaking, many traditions have taught this very principle for thousands of years. As within, so without. What's above, so below. You become what you repeatedly practice. The kingdom of heaven is within you, or hell. Modern manifestation teachings call this resonance. Some consciousness researchers describe it as attractor states within the field of consciousness, magnetic draw. Whatever language we want to choose, the message remains remarkably similar. What is stabilized within tends to become expressed without, on your exterior. This does not mean that you attract every hardship that you've ever been through. It does not mean difficult experiences are all your fault. Life still contains challenges, unpredictability, and collective influences. Sometimes shit just happens. But it does suggest that healing ourselves changes the way that we move through reality, the way that we ride the wave. And that is an incredibly empowering thing to learn. Again, I speak from experience. So how do you change your your dominant frequency and project correctly? How can you change it? Well, step one, become aware. Ask yourself, what emotional state do I live in most often? Is it fear? Is it joy? Is it anger? Is it resentment? Is it hope? Is it gratitude? Is it anxiety? Is it doubt? And step two, identify what your core story is. And again, this workbook is amazing at helping you to figure all that out. It really breaks it down. It really asks a lot of questions to help you get the answers you need. And there's plenty of space for journaling and affirmations that you practice to say, but also feel, that are believable to you so that you can feel them. It's a really great workbook. Maybe some of the best work I've written, actually. But you have to identify your core story. You have to be honest with yourself. What sentences do you repeat to yourself the most often? What thoughts are there the most often? I am not enough. People can't be trusted. I always fail. I'm too much. Nothing ever changes. Every time I do something good for myself, something bad happens. Whatever your story is, you need to figure it out. And step 3, you have to challenge that story. Is it objectively true? Or is it simply familiar? That's huge. But that's how you change the story, by challenging it and proving to your nervous system this is not your truth. This was a safety mechanism that you put in place from old patterns of habit, whether they were yours or someone else's. It's learned behavior. Step 4 would be to practice a new identity repeatedly. And again, that's why this workbook is so great. It walks you through 30 days. Every step of the way, I'm holding your hand within those pages. Because occasional thoughts, that's not what creates transformation. It has to be consistent. It has to become a new habit. That's a fact. Step 4. Excuse me, I think I'm on step 5. Step 5, you have to regulate your nervous system. How do you do that? Well, seriously, you need to get back to nature. I don't care what your excuse is. 5 minutes sitting outside in the quiet, connecting with nature, is not too much to ask for your own well-being. And that can count as your meditation. So get back to nature. Meditate. Practice on breath work, because your breath is the key to everything. Breath. Focus on the breath. Journaling is a great one. And again, that's why this workbook is so great, because there's plenty of room throughout all the pages to do the journaling. Movement is another important one. Every doctor, physical therapist that's out there knows that the best thing for any type of anxiety or feelings of being stuck or staleness or lack of energy, fatigue, all kinds of things, movement in the body, some form of exercise, movement is going to move your chi in your body. It's going to move your energetic life force flow and get that current running again. And I'm not saying go be real energetic, just movement, just things that you're not used to doing. You know, if you don't stretch very often, stand up and do some nice slow stretches. If you don't walk very far, walk a little bit further than normal. Do those extra little things that creates more movement. I don't know how many times I've heard someone say to me, they're on their feet moving all day long while they're at work. But your body, that's a repeated, habitual type movement. Your body doesn't see that and register that as full movement anymore because it's part of the routine, right? So we have to expand beyond the routine in our movement. Also, shadow work, really being honest with yourself, really digging into who you are and learning how you actually behave, why you feel that way. Where did that begin with you? Again, back to the workbook because it has that in there. And also learning self-compassion, real self-love. We're not taught how to do that, but we need to learn. Healing is not just changing your thoughts. Manifesting is not just about changing your thoughts. It's teaching your entire nervous system that it is safe to become someone new. So here is the question that I want you to really sit with today. If your current life reflected your dominant inner frequency, what might it be trying to show you? And I don't want you to look at this because I'm trying to shame you or blame you, but to invite the awareness that is needed. because awareness is where true transformation begins.